Hey Liverpool fans, have you seen the latest release? At Anfield Index, we've teamed up with Liverpool FC to announce that the brand new 24-25 LFC Nike home kit and anthem jacket are out now, and they're hotter than ever. The brand new kit pays homage to the legendary Rome 1984 side, featuring sleek pinstripe detailing that brings a touch of history to our modern game. Whether you're cheering from the Kop or watching from home, you'll feel the spirit of the Reds coursing through every stitch. The best part? You can grab yours today. The new kit and training range are available in official stores, online, and through the LFC store app. Don't wait, order now and be ready to show your Liverpool pride and style. Get your hands on the new 24-25 LFC home kit and anthem jacket today. Let's make this season unforgettable. You'll never walk alone.
I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at liverpoolfc.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.
Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, just a quick note before we get into the Under Pressure season review. The podcast was over 2 hours long, and I think Eddie would have said Greg after me if I just released that into the wild. So we're going to split it into 2 parts. So if the podcast ends a bit abruptly, that's the reason why. Thought I'd just give you a heads up. Enjoy the show.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the last Anfield Index Under Pressure of the 23-24 season. I'm here with Si and with Dr. Barts to do the season review. And what a season it was in so many ways. Before we get into the numbers, and we're going to take the chunk by chunk of the season, Si, do you want to give us your overall verdict on the season? And
well, my fandom is based in hope. We had a lot of it for a long period of time, and we seem to have more of it than lots of fans expected to. And it was a lot of fun for a lot of times. We scored some absolute bangers. We crushed some teams. We had some fun new young players discovered.
Yeah.
And then the weird thing, the Jurgen thing, I like. I talk to my kids about it. I like even like for my daughter to go through a relationship that she feels so hard she's devastated by. I like that. I think it's a really human thing, and this felt a little bit like that, and it was wonderful to experience. I don't think sadness is bad. I think sadness is a great feeling. All feelings are good, and we had lots of all of the feelings this year.
Wow. I didn't expect that. And Bart, about you, mate?
Yeah, I think it's a strange season. It's probably, funny enough, looking back at all our predictions, without getting too diarrhea, kind of probably ended up where we all thought. I mean, we did have some highs, there were some lows, but I think largely we did play some good football at times, patchy, but then that's probably a bit of a story. We scored some great goals, some great team goals. Saw some individual performances that I didn't think I'd see from players, you know. So yeah, it was, and then you kind of get to that point, you know, Jurgen making the decision, and it kind of changes the entire narrative of the season.
Yeah,
and then you have that hope, you know, that we're going to go and win the league, and it falls away. So I think, but at the end of it, he is that saying goodbye to a legend, but also upon reflection, yeah, we probably achieved, you know, we got Champions League and we got a cup. I mean, it's not a bad point to have for a season, really, you know.
No, far from it. It's a you know, third and a cup is a good season.
Yeah, and we've got to see some kids, right?
Yeah,
some kids play.
It's just the only thing wrong with the season was the sequencing. It's like, you know, yeah, sort of petered out, and and the high point really was the, you know, Virgil's winner in extra time, with 6 under 19-year-olds on the pitch, you know, and that was the unequivocal highlight of the season, wasn't it? So
yeah, seeing the kids do the business. I think it is
that extra time against Chelsea. My goodness,
that's brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah. McConnell, Clark,
with kids.
McConnell, Clark, Dans, Bradley, Kwanzaa.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
Yeah, unbelievable. Right. Anyway, we are here to take a deep dive across the whole season, and we're going to start back in August, and we're going to do the first block of games up to the November international break, which was the first 12 Premier League games, of which we won 8, drew 3, and lost 1. The infamous game at Spurs. Good process. We were second in the league at that point, at the November international break. We had 28 points. Arsenal also had 28, but Man City were one ahead on 29 as we went in. So, as always, we're going to go through the full range of performance, player, team, physical stats, injuries, rotations, playing loads, and maybe try and bring in some distances and sprints and stuff like that as well. So I can start with you, right? We always do start first with the injuries and stuff, and we've had some real. This pod, a couple of times in recent years, has been completely dominated by injury conversations. We had a really bad spell with injuries this season, but overall, what was the verdict for LFC with the injuries this year?
If you line it up with games missed, put for injury across the whole league this season, we are 11th. So right in the middle of the pack. We were not unlucky. Injuries are part of football.
Yeah.
You can be fortunate. You can plan really well and be fortunate. You can plan well and be unfortunate with some. You can't control when some dude 2 foots a lad in the knee or elbow somebody in the jaw. But as well as soft tissue injuries go, we were 10th in the league. So total injuries.
How close
we were 11th.
How close were Arsenal to being first?
Arsenal were 3rd.
Okay.
And very close. So the top 3 were
was it Fulham? Were Fulham top?
West Ham were top. So
were they?
4 games missed this season, and we had 143. We've had 300 games missed in the past.
Yeah.
For reference.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important to know that we weren't necessarily unlucky with injuries. It's just maybe they all came together. Maybe that was the problem.
I think it perhaps was, looking at my screen, there's a whole lot in the middle of the screen that's blue. So at one point, Endo, Bajcetic, who missed the whole season pretty much, Thiago, who missed the whole season, apart from 15 minutes, CJ and Zobo, and if we're going to add in these things, Ben Doak were injured all at the same time. That's quite a midfield that was injured. But there have been periods this season where our biggest period, which wasn't the first block, we had 11 players missing, which is the most we've ever had under Klopp. But in the first block, the most we had in any game missing was 4. And even then, we're still including Doak, and I'm not a big.
As you said, he's not even listed
in favor of that.
He's not even listed as the first team squad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he did play twice in the first block of games.
Yeah. So, Barts, you've done your preparations in your Monte Carlos for the Sims and other things to be besides. Do you want to give us the headline numbers for the for this block of games, or are you going to take it up to March when we were still top of the league?
If you want to look at Monte Carlo, the first block is in my slightly longer first block because I did 2/3 and a third. But for that period of time, we were overperforming defensively and about spot on in attack. Monte Carlo says we should have scored about, in that first block for me anyway, about 62 goals. We scored about 64. Should have conceded about 34. We actually conceded 24. So that first sort of 2/3 of the season, we were overperforming defensively, which I think we've all said at the time, but actually spot on in attack. In terms of how many points we should have won, if you want to know, so that block, which includes the block you're talking about, we should have won at a rate of 58%. And drawn at 5%. So that gives you a fairly, so that's not a bad start, but not our best probability in terms of, and that's largely due to the XGA we were giving up for that early block.
Yeah.
So that sort of churns around. If you look at the overall season, just to give you that as a starting point, should we say, we underperformed goal scoring wise, and we overperformed defensively. That's the pattern for the overall season. And overall, we should have won 65 or 66% of games, which would equate to about a 75-point season. So that's the overall picture. So it shows you that the first block, we were probably slightly down on the overall picture in terms of XG.
Yeah. Okay. Nice one. Early season, Si, kind of remember dominated tactically by Trent discussions, inversion discussions. Kind of went away for the middle bit of the season, but in this early stage, we were always talking about the teething problems. Bit of a lucky point at Chelsea to start the season, but one of Liverpool's greatest ever Premier League wins, and in match day 3, away at Newcastle, after being red card for 70 minutes of the match, and then 2 fantastic finishes from Darwin Núñez. Is the only time we can say that all season long. So it was.
I'm not sure it was the only time, to be fair, but it was the most impactful he had been all season for sure. There was that. It was.
Was there another game where he had 2 good finishes?
Yes. Didn't he almost scored a hat trick at one point?
Okay.
But these were the best version of that. He went on a run after Christmas, didn't he? When Mo was away.
Yeah. When he's on his hot streak, when his hot streak lasted about 10 games,
Yeah. This was the beginning of his first hot streak that in his defence, everybody said it was about confidence. And so as soon as he just needs confidence, a ball going in off his arse or whatever. It hadn't, but he came in and scored these 2 brilliant goals in this as winners. One of he scored 8 winners this season. No, 5 winners this season. And this was the key game. It kind of changed everything, didn't it? There was a real, at this point, no one was entirely sure who we were, what we were in the season.
Yeah.
But this was the come from behind late, because we already had that negative from Bournemouth, from Mac getting sent off, and then it getting rescinded. We're hard done by. These narratives take hold in our team and in the fan base. And this was the real come from behind. Okay, because come from behind wins make a late wins, come from behind wins it starts to build something. It starts to feel, and you go, "What?"
That Newcastle game was one of the highlights of the season, though, right?
I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at liverpoolfc.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
It was very exciting.
Here's me saying it was one of the greatest Premier League games, results as well, that I think I can recall.
Well, I think the context at the time was that Newcastle were fucking great. And I'd been saying most of last season and then this season that they're a myth. It bore out into reality that maybe I was onto something. Or they couldn't sustain the overperformance of last season. So in context of the season, us beating Newcastle away, it was very nice, but at the time it felt spectacular because they were potential league contenders.
But also it was more like Van Dijk gets sent off and you play with a man down away from home for
that's what I'm saying. It starts to build
over an
that
hour.
momentum.
Yeah, and we can.
And it was the second sending off in 3 games.
Yeah.
But it was like he played really well, didn't he? And he played manner, but we forget. We talk about the Darwin 2 goals, but Ali pretty much kept us in the game for an hour.
He did, but that was the game we conceded so many shots. We conceded over 30 shots, but we just sort of shelled into a really good defensive shape. And it was Newcastle that was taking pot shots in that game, wasn't it?
Yeah, from distance.
Ali had only conceded 1 big chance from 9 at this point of the season.
Nice.
So he was a wall.
Yeah. So give us your overriding analysis of that first block of games.
I thought we were kind of feeling our way a little bit. No one knew entirely what we were, but I think we built our identity around the inverted fullback and the continuation from last season. And my role in 19, we started the season going back to, you talked about it a lot. But going back to that, the delineating the season again, the half time at Arsenal. So we started the season. It was Chelsea was the 10th game since that happened.
Yes.
So constantly rolling from there up to Spurs. We were basically a 2.5 points per game team from Arsenal till Spurs.
Yeah.
So this was a wave, and we had the narrative of stuff was going against us, and we were still managing to overcome. So it helps to embed new players in a squad, in a culture of a changing room when you have stuff go against you and stuff go and you get to overcome it together. It gives you a shared enemy. And early on, the shared enemy was referees, because even Virgil sending off was questionable, I thought. And then we got to the fucking Spurs game when it was the most egregious thing in history. And Curtis gets sent off for something that 7 different times this season somebody didn't get sent off for. And it was talked about as not a jump, or if they touched the ball, all those things. So it was more questionable refereeing.
Absolutely.
So you have that thing to fight against. And at that point, I think up to Spurs, then Brighton a little bit, the opposition hadn't quite figured out how to man mark Trent.
Yeah.
And so he could dominate games. Then there was a period, he wasn't actually that good early in the season at all.
No.
So he only had four big chances in the first block of games. So you've got until first 18 games of the season. He only had 4 big chances, and they were in the last 3 games. Yeah. So he didn't really create that much early on. It was embedding the rest of the midfield around it. So that first big block of games, it was basically we got Salah getting 25 goals or big chances created. 25 in the first 18 games.
Yeah.
He was on fire. Darwin got 11. He was doing very nicely as well. And we weren't getting anything from the fullbacks, which is what we traditionally do. Robbo and Trent had got 6 between them. So it was kind of changing into the attackers were doing both the creating and the goal scoring. And then we had Zobbo, who looked like the dog's bollocks at that time. He had 7 in the first 18 games, and he was and at that point, in my first 2 blocks of games, which would be to the second international break, Zobbo played every minute, and then the cup games and stuff came off. But in Premier League, up to the whole first block, he played every single minute.
I know, it's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why do you think he played every single minute?
Mitigating others. I think we may be dazzled by the absolute beast of a human, of a specimen he was, because he dominated the fitness tests in the pre-season. He broke records, and soon fans were comparing him to Steven Gerrard back in August, early September. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was like the swashbuckling. He had the highest distance covered in the league last season in that first block. He had the most high speed distance covered in the whole season in the first block. And he had the fastest top speed in the first block. He got beaten. He ended up being the 4th in the league. But still, from a midfielder, all the while creating 7 big chances in that period.
Yeah, scored a couple of goals.
Thunderbasting as well.
Yeah.
He looked like the real deal at that point. He looked like he could do everything like Gerrard, because we knew he had some. I didn't really know anything about him, but we knew he was a creative force. And then we saw him tackling people inside our box, having sprinted from the edge of their box to bail out some of the other midfield. Yeah. Because Mac was learning a new role, because we didn't have a 6. And Thiago got injured and ruined the whole plan, because the plan was obviously to have Thiago, Mac and Zobbo. And so we were always mitigating that loss, and we didn't have, in the early period, we didn't have CJ either, really.
No.
So, yeah, CJ missed 5 games through injury, but then also got sent off. So he missed 8 games out of the first 18 he was unavailable for. And then you have to build them back in. So, yeah, we're trying to throw mud at a wall at the same time, trying to build the midfield out.
Yeah. Now, Barts, we definitely talked a lot about the tactical stuff. What was your thinking back on how do you appraise that part of the season?
I think similar to what I was saying, I was just looking at pass maps for that block, and you can quite clearly see Zobbo's in that right triangle. We're trying to build that space out, which was a difference to what we've traditionally done, where Trent would be higher, but the pass maps clearly show that Trent was carrying on being inverting. And then Matt was in the 6, and the left-hand side is less connected because of, like, we've just gone over the player change. You know, CJ played 8, or missed 8 at the 18. You've got Endo and others coming in around that time as well. The other pattern that started to come about, or which was an oncurring theme, which is lack of connections with the 9. You know, there wasn't. You know, I for the season-ending pod, I've gone. You must have made 50 passes to there be a line on the graph, and for this whole block in the time, there's no connection with the 9, which kind of gives you a bit of an indication of some of our issues. As much as we got the wins and some of the points on board, and it was exciting, there was still some flaws in our generation of chances or build up with the linking in with the front players, which, as we've gone through the season, have kind of reared their heads in other things. The other thing I think we have chatted about with Dom was he kind of helped make the right side work because of what Si said. The ability to chase back and fill gaps helps out, right? If you've got Kanate and Dom both coming back to fill that right side, if Trent is allowed to, what was a phrase that's been used a lot, go and find the space to get on the ball.
Yeah.
You then need
a free roll almost. Yeah, free roll.
Pardon?
A free roll.
Almost. Yeah, a free roll. I mean, maybe it's not quite free, but you know what I'm saying? If Trent is allowed to go and find that space to dictate the game, then you need players either behind and in front of him to come back and fit in the defensive side. But Dom helped out a lot with that. I think also early on, it became pretty obvious, and the pass match stepped that up as well, is how wide Mo was. He's in the outside right channel. Yes, he's creating, but he's receiving the ball wide, which again is a change from previous seasons where he largely was in right half space or coming in and out on moving in. So yeah, I think there's a lot of those trends earlier on that we did. I'm not saying we didn't highlight, but maybe some of the results not covered over a little bit of some of the signs that come in later on, that the front three weren't quite functioning together. As much as there was goals happening and chance and excitement.
Yeah, we scored 3 goals in 6 of the first 8 games.
Yeah.
So, I think my main takeaway from that first block is the defence was, even then in that early stages, and we never got it under control all season, but we never got it below for a sustained period where we were, conceding less than 1.2 expected per game, and which is too many. So when after 12 games, we conceded 16 xG, and City and Arsenal were both 11 after 12. So they were less than 1 per game, and we were up at 1.3, and that's already a big gap, isn't it, Barts? And it never really changed much that much. It
kind of stayed consistent, and it's something we said in the pre-season pod. We had to get it below this level, and we never ever got it below that level. And fundamentally, you could argue that's eventually what cost us. We couldn't stop conceding big chances. Even last end of season against the Wolves on the beach, we still gave them a big chance. It's just, I think even looking at your EPV as well, there was still that first block. It's still that they were dominating, developing it in the areas of we've come to know as being that right side, or their left, if you like. Was still a high area for them to create EPV. They still created, nearly 15% straight down the middle of the pitch, which again is an area where it's come about. It's just that shouldn't really be happening if you've got a solid defensive structure. It was interesting. Our patterns of play don't really change a lot through the blocks for EPV. They're kind of pretty much like a U shape round the goal, if you like, which is a fairly common Klopp pattern, if I'm being honest with you. The U-shaped round as if we switch it back in and out. So, yeah, I think if we're being honest, some of the signs were there very early on. I don't think we could have portrayed what it came onto, but yeah, so I've got a point to come into, I think.
The first block, we overperformed. So from the expected threat that we were allowing, 1.78, we were only seeing, Ali was only having to face 1.15 by the time it got to him. And And you remember how many big saves he made as well.
Yeah.
So we were closing lots of threat, but the only threat they had ended up getting through.
Yeah.
Very often. But early on, he was also in the first block, he was saving 0.35 per game.
Yeah.
You know, we ended up negative on the season.
That's because we were 0.37 minus in the last block.
Yeah. I agree. And it's a shame. It's just Alisson's statistically his second worst Premier League season of his career for us. But yeah, in that first, up until November, he was sensational, wasn't he?
He really, really was sensational.
It was him and Mo were just like levels ahead of it. Well, him and Zobbo as well, but levels ahead.
But also, in the first block of games, we were scoring. We were creating 0.32 more XG2 than XG. So we were adding 0.32 value to the expected goals we were creating with our finishing, and we were minus at the end of the season.
Yeah. So, the other thing is we need to talk about is in this first block of games, we didn't just play Premier League games. We played 5 other matches, played half the Europa League group stage and 2 matches in the Carabao Cup. How did you see our rotation and planning in terms of like strategic rotation? We always talk about strategic rotation. How good a job do you think we did of the rotation in those then and then ongoing after that?
Well, in the first block of games, we had Zobbo and Mo. They basically played 80% of all minutes in all competitions. And most of the rest played 50 odd, so it was okay. The thing I complain about is about load, but it's mainly about training. It's about how you set up for the week, for the season. So when you don't rotate deliberately, so what I would do, as obviously I'm the greatest expert in the world on being a football manager, but when you got shitty games and you know when your shitty games are coming, I would plan that to be a proper full training week for my first team players. Yeah. So I would have a match day plus 4 in there where there's specific rest during that week and then training to build to the weekend. So they're not training around that match day in midweek.
Yeah.
And people don't grasp that. They think it's all about the minutes on the pitch. And that's not the thing at all. It's not even that important. But it can be if your players are all bloody playing in the midweek game as well. Changes per game in that period were 6.2 per match because we were having some fairly decent changes for the early Caribou games and for the Europa League in the terrible competitions. But we had 10 changes for Caribou, which is, that's kind of what you want. I want in the first Caribou game. But as we were going through, we ended up going down to 8 and then 6 and then 5 and then 3 at some points. That's the problem. That's a real problem. We were able to get some of our kids in there. We still use too many of our first teamers in the games that we shouldn't be playing. Like you theoretically in that first block, you should put to bed the Europa League against. We got a very easy draw.
We did.
I literally hadn't heard of 2 of the teams before. Where's Union? I still don't know where Union is.
Belgium. Yeah. So, sorry, I made a mistake. We had 4 games of the Europa League before the international break, yeah. So, I think we won the first 3, right? We beat Lask at home. We beat Union. We beat Lask away. We beat Union at home. And then we hammered Toulouse at home. And then we go and lose the 4th game at Toulouse in a bit of a shocker, but
which upsets the next block of games.
Yeah.
It's when you've got to be really strategic about how you're going to go about and win these things.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't
think
you
need a little bit of luck.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say, Barts, that some of the signings, particularly Endo, was really struggling in this period. I mean, he didn't really come into his own until sort of late November, early December, did he?
Yeah, I think we watched him live and we were both a bit like, wow, I think was it Union at home?
Yeah, it was Union.
And given size, not even heard of the team. It was not a great performance.
Kevin McAllister's
someone coming from Bundesliga to play with a Premier League side, and he looked like levels below the actual opposition was a bit of a concern. He just looked really slow. And I don't know whether that had a knock-on effect in terms of, as I said, the planning for the resulting games. If you put in these players out there to do a job, and he's having to be pulled off at half time, and you're having to put a first teamer on, because you're worried about the result going away, that is eating into the rest you would have given Mac, right? And then, as we found out, Mac ended up playing far too many minutes. I mean, I lost count the number of times I said he's in the red zone. I mean, so it's sort of it's a worry. So I think there was, but that also goes back to some of the issues that were right there in pre-season. We didn't plan our signings very well. No. Should have bought 6. You shouldn't go into the start of the season having to rely on a bargain by Endo as being your starting 6. That shouldn't be your point. Or relying on, as I said, if the plan was Mac, Dom, Thiago, that's still not a bulletproof plan, is it? Given Thiago's injury record. So either way you look at it, our planning there in the summer in terms of recruitment impacted that first block of games. And as you say, Endo didn't really get going until the second block of games, really.
Yeah. Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at LiverpoolFC.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.